I saw it myself, the way her fingers hovered just an inch above his skin before she finally broke. It was in the medbay of the Ethelgard, and the air smelled like sharp ozone and that sterile, biting scent of old cryo-fluid. Valeria She is the captain of the Vesperae Scout. Tough as the hull of a dreadnought was trembling. She reached out, and when her palm finally met the heat of his cheek, the electric spark of skin meeting metal from her wrist interfaces made them both flinch. But they didn't pull away. Jax Thorne looked at her with eyes that had seen a world that didn't exist anymore, his breath coming in these short, ragged hitches that made my own chest ache. I was standing by the primary monitors, supposedly checking the life support yields, but I couldn't look away. I remember the thud of his heart, loud enough to echo through the quiet deck, a rhythmic, stubborn pulse that seemed to defy the very vacuum of space outside. Truth is, I don't think they even knew I was there. They were locked in this bubble of raw, unfiltered proximity. His knuckles were white where he gripped the edge of the medical cot, his body still shaking off the frost of a 60-year sleep. I could see the stinging behind his eyes, that liquid shine of a man who has lost everything but the person currently holding him together. But let's back up a bit. Look, it wasn't always this intense. When Jax first stumbled out of that pod, he was a cryo ghost. He woke up to a ship that was hollowed out, a local time dilation error having turned his few weeks of sleep into 6 decades. I saw him wandering the corridors, calling out for a crew that had turned to memory long ago. The ship's engines hummed a low, lonely tune, the vibration of the deck plates under his bare feet, the only thing tethering him to reality. The metal was cold, biting into his heels, and every hologram that flickered to life in the hallways felt like a physical shock. Valerius came aboard, her scouts moving with a rigid, calculated grace that screamed of the Krell hegemony's influence. She had to be the one to tell him. I was there in the briefing room when she laid it out. The images of Earth, or what was left of it. The Krell had glassed the planet 60 years back, turning our home into a marble of scorched grit. They rule everything now, enforcing this bland biological conformity on every species they touch. Jack sat there, the glow of the tactical screens reflecting in his wide, stunned eyes. He looked small, but then Valeria stepped closer. She didn't use the cold logic of her people. She spoke about the stubborn physics of hope. She told him about the diaspora armada, hiding in the fringes, waiting for a sign. And that was the first spark, the moment he stopped being a victim of time and started being a threat to the Empire. I saw the way he looked at her then. It wasn't just gratitude. It was the unpredictable chemistry of human defiance taking root. He reached out and touched her arm, his thumb brushing against the sleeve of her uniform. And for the first time in 60 years, the Ethelgard felt like it had a reason to keep flying. And me? I just watched, knowing right then that the galaxy was about to change. I saw the moment the hegemony flagship started to buckle under the weight of something they couldn't calculate, human spite. It wasn't a clean break. It was this slow, grinding groan of metal that vibrated right through the soles of our boots, a sound that felt more like a scream than a mechanical failure. Jax was standing so close to the tactical display that the flickering blue light made his skin look like it was carved from the nebula itself. Valerius was right there, her hand hovering over his shoulder, her fingers twitching with a nervous energy I'd never seen from a Vesperi. The air on the bridge was thick, charged with the scent of recycled oxygen and that sharp electric tang you only get when the shields are being pushed to the absolute limit. I remember the way he leaned back into her, just for a second, his weight shifting against her as if to make sure she was still real. Truth is, the Krell never stood a chance once Jax started thinking outside the grid. They fight like a machine, perfect, cold, and entirely predictable. But Jax? He brought the Ursid warriors and those Lumashard psychics together into a beautiful, chaotic mess. I watched from my station as the Ursid ship's huge, jagged things that looked like they were held together by sheer willpower pulled these erratic, drifting turns that sent the hegemony's targeting computers into a spiral. The Aurelia Nebula was glowing, a sea of vibrant pinks and deep golds reflecting off the cockpit glass, making the whole scene feel less like a war and more like a rebirth. I saw the way the Luma shards focused their energy, their bodies glowing with a soft, pulsing light that matched the rhythm of the Guard's core. But I think the real victory happened earlier, in that quiet heartbeat before we dove into the fray. I was standing just a few feet away when Jax turned to Valerius. He didn't say anything grand. He just reached out and took her hand, the real one, the one that wasn't fused with tech, and squeezed it. I saw the stinging behind her eyes, that raw vulnerability she usually kept locked behind her rank. They stood there, foreheads pressed together, a tiny island of warmth in a cold, metal world. The heat radiating between them was palpable, a physical force that seemed to push back the vacuum of space. I don't think they even noticed the alarms or the shouting. They were just two souls finally finding a tether. Then Jax pulled back, his eyes clear and burning with a fire that had been dormant for 60 years. He gave the order, his voice a low, steady hum that cut through the noise of the ship. We dove. The Guard screamed as we pushed the engines past the red line, the vibration rattling my very bones. We threaded the needle between the hegemony's flagship and its escorts, a move so reckless it shouldn't have worked. But it did. When the main batteries fired, it was the sound of an ending and a beginning. I saw the transmission go out myself. It wasn't a call for help. It was a pulse, a signal to every hidden ship in the sector. And then the screen started lighting up, 1, 10, 100 signatures from the diaspora armada. I looked at Jax and Valerius, standing there amidst the smell of ozone and the glow of 1,000 friendly ships, and I knew the galaxy was finally waking up. The era of human-led defiance hadn't just begun. It was already a sun. Would you like me to generate a cinematic image of Jax and Valerius standing on the bridge as the diaspora armada emerges from the Aurelia Nebula?